Hi everyone, I'm Xenia and welcome to the Knitting Machine Course channel, the place where we together learn how to operate an electronic knitting machine. And today I will show you how to put the yarn through the tension guide. I selected a rather thick yarn, thick for the machine but hopefully more visible for you. And yarn have to go just under the tension guide, or some people also recommend to bring it on the floor. And the tension guide itself has a few eyelets which we need to follow in a certain order, and we begin with this one. So the yarn goes through the eyelet here, this way. The next stop is a tension dial. We can put two discs separately and put the thread in between. Here you can also change the tension by rotating the dial. Next stop is this eyelet. We need to bring yarn through it this way, and after that bring the spring closer, and on top of the spring you also see another eyelet, so the yarn goes through it this way. And the last eyelet we need to go through, positioned here like this. The next step, we need to set the tension of the yarn properly, and it's defined by the distance between the last eyelet and the spring, so this one, and it should be something in between 10 centimeters and 20 centimeters. So first of all, you see that here yarn hanging freely, and if we pull our yarn this way and stop at a certain moment, you see how the system is adjusting this distance, so it goes a bit up. At the same time, you see it's not really 10 centimeters yet. I would say it's rather tensed, and I decreased with one the tension on this tension dial. So you see that it goes now higher. I would say this is already rather optimal tension on the yarn. As you can see, I still holding the yarn in my hand, and if I will stop doing this, that's what will happen. That is why on the tension guide there is a very lovely yarn clip here, so like this, and the yarn is now secured. Sometimes in work we still don't want to cut the yarn from the main piece, but we don't want to have yarn to be under tension, so it's a little detail. You can always pull extra yarn this way and fix it on the clip, and the rest of it will be available for your work, for example casting off the piece from the knitting machine. Yarn thickness is one of the most important parameters in the selection process for the knitting machine. And there are different measurements of the yarn thickness, but one of the most popular is a number of meters per 100 gram of yarn. And standard gauge knitting machine can work with as thick yarn as 300 meters per 100 gram up to 1,500 meters per 100 gram. Also, this is the wide range. The most optimal one and the most recommended one is from 400 to 800 meters per 100 gram of yarn. I have prepared here for you three yarns. Unfortunately, I don't have a very thin one to show you. And here, this one is a special yarn for the knitting machine. It's 440 meters per 100 gram. And here two balls of yarn for the hand knitting. This one is 500 meters per 100 gram, and this one 260 meters per 100 gram. The best way to understand why very thick yarn isn't suitable for the machine is to place a thread in the hook of the knitting needle. If it leaves noticeable free room for maneuver, the machine will knit it easily, like this green one. When the thread is too thick and occupies the entire hook, such as this yellow thread, the knitting process will not be smooth. Some loops may do not knit properly, while others may fall from the hook. Overall, most hand knitting yarns are too thick for the standard gauge knitting machine, and the benefit of using the very thin yarn is that you always can multiply threads to achieve the needed thickness. You can also observe other differences between yarn for knitting machines and those for hand knitting. Machine yarn is less twisted and oiled, which allows for smoothing knitting process. The main recommendation is to use especially designed for knitting machines yarns on cones rather than yarn for the hand knitting. Also, you still can use yarn for hand knitting, but it's very important to rewind it from this shape ball into cakes, into ball of this shape. And now I want to demonstrate you why actually this advice makes a lot of sense, and it's really, you have to do this. So you see that here now thread is freely hanging, nothing constraining it, and that's how the tension on the tension guide is set, so it's optimal tension. And now I will just mimic very intense work of a knitting machine, because when you move carriage, it's consumed quite a lot of yarn in one go, and you can see what's gonna happen to the yarn and to the tension on a tension guide. So you see, it absolutely doesn't go freely, and you need rather to all the time unroll the thread. But this is at certain moment you for sure will lose this moment when you have to do this, because you will be into knitting process, and that is why it's better to really redo this in this cake, where you can just without any tension get as much thread as you can, and it's not rotating. Also, yarn for the hand knitting can have a knots inside of it, like in this example, and this very serious issue for the knitting machine. So when you rewind yarn in the cakes like this, try to identify such knots, and if you find it, just cut the thread, remove the cake from the winder, and start creating a new one. To make such cake, how it's here, from the hand knitting yarn, the ball which is not suitable for the knitting machine, you will need such a yarn winder, special device, and its usage is rather straightforward, but you can see how easy to use it. So we need to put the thread through the guide and secure it on top of this machine, and after that start rotating. So you see, now cake is ready, and we can remove it from the winder like this. Here's our working thread.